Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Geek-Stew, and today, guys, welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy Theories with Ike. That's right. And first and foremost, I'm going to give everybody a very special thank you for continuing to like and subscribe and to follow on the channel. I know definitely that over time our channel's continuing to grow. You know, me and Salsa even talked a little bit about this last time on Controversy, the Speedcast. If you've not actually checked that out yet, go ahead and go check that out. But that definitely was something interesting that we got to do and talk about on Wednesday. But I want to go ahead and give you guys another special thank you because we're almost to 200 subscribers. That is right. I'm so excited to finally get to 200 subscribers because when I got to 100, I was like, oh my god, this is great. And then I got to 200, I'm like almost at 200. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I haven't even done a 100 subscribers video yet, and I feel like ass. So we'll definitely be having a really cool video coming out for the 200 subscribers. I'm gonna incorporate Salsa into that video, hopefully. So just keep an eye for that because that will be coming down the pipeline as soon as possible. So first and foremost, I want to apologize for last week's video. I realized that the audio quality was really low, and the reason was I had my microphone kind of far away. Right now it's sitting like right here, like near my mouth, so you should be able to hear me pretty well in this one. So again, apologies for last time, but this will definitely help, hopefully I should say, help with that. Alright, so before we get into today's theory, I'm going to go ahead and give a special thanks to Cicada1205. Sorry, I'm on a coffee high, so I'm just rambling at this point. But Cicada1205, the wonderful Redditor that created this conspiracy theory iceberg. I've been using this iceberg a lot for a lot of different research purposes, as well as the Reddit itself. So thank you everybody on that Reddit, and thank you to Cicada1205. That being said, today's theory is a religious theory. So if you are not a fan of religion, and specifically are not a fan of Christianity, maybe skip this video because this video does contain some themes about Christian ideology and creation. So that being said, we're going to jump into today's conspiracy, if you will. But the theory today that we're going to be talking about is the Omphalos Hypothesis. So luckily this week we actually don't have to do any context because pretty much the theory explains most of everything. I will let you know that the Omphalos Hypothesis was created in 1857, is that right? Yeah, so it was created in 1857. The book Omphalos by Philip Henry Goss was created at that time, which basically made the groundwork for this theory, and that basically just means that that book inspired someone to compound upon that and make a theory, and it's something that some folks commonly believe in. So let's get into the actual theory itself. And I do want to go ahead and also apologize. There may not be a whole lot of actual imagery and extracurricular, you know, pictures and stuff, just because this is a very straightforward theory that really doesn't have a whole lot of imagery to go with it. So I do apologize. But the theory is as follows. Bear with me. I will hopefully be able to summarize this at the end, but I want to provide it to you in its full context and then hopefully kind of break it down from there. So, the theory goes as follows. This theory attempts to reconcile any scientific evidence that the universe is billions of years old. So if you believe in evolution and you believe in the Big Bang Theory, you most likely believe that the Earth is much older than what general creationist Christians believe the Earth is. So basically what it does is that the Omphalos theory says we're going to basically reconcile all of this. We're going to make a reason why this is wrong. And it says it does this by using a literal interpretation of the Genesis creation narrative. So now we have to talk about creation. So in the Bible, if you've never read the Bible or read anything about the Bible, sorry if you see this, I'm just moving my hands about and I have some notes on here, so I look like a preacher right now. But if you've never read anything about the Bible, or if you don't know what creation is, basically God created the earth in 7 days. The Genesis creation narrative is roughly the earth was made in 7 days. Lots of stuff goes into this, of course, but basically, TLDR, God made the earth in 7 days. I think it was, he breathed, and then, everything spun from that. So, yeah, that's basically what the creation narrative is. But depending on certain interpretations, because a lot of people, most people, I would say, recognize that there are parts of the Bible that are not meant to be taken literally. You can't take stuff like this literally for the simple fact that, A, there's no way on this earth that the earth is only that old. And how do you explain things like fossils and tree rings and carbon dating and things like that? There's all kinds of stuff that prove that the earth is older than what most Christian theologists believe the earth is. So the Omphalos theory basically presents a rationale for how can we explain away the fact that the earth seems to be older than what our book says.
If you made it this far into the video, that means that you are paying attention, so thank you so much for that. I want to go ahead and say thank you again, folks, for continuing to watch all of this. I'll let you get back to the theory here in just a second, but I wanted to spice up this episode a little bit just because there's not a whole lot of imagery that goes into this, so I wanted to go ahead and give you a little, hey, how's it going? Follow us on social media, please. TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. It's at the end and in the description. Please follow us. Alright, anyways, go ahead and get back to the video.
So as mentioned, they're going to be using a literal interpretation and translation, if you will, of the Genesis story to pose the idea that everything was created in 7 days and all of the proof of evolution was created with it. You heard that right. They're basically saying that God created fossils. God created the trees with the rings in the trees. God created the mountains with the destruction and the erosion. He basically created the proof of evolution and the proof that the earth is older than it actually is. But he did so with the intention of deceiving us. Now, obviously, deceit and deceiving us is more of a negative term. I think that this person that made this book on Omphalos and the people that believe this would probably like to say the word. He made it to test the true believers, right? Basically, he wanted to test whether or not, hey, are there actually believers? Are they going to find a rationale to make things make sense? So, basically, what we're going to do now is I'm going to kind of dive in this a little bit deeper, and then we're going to talk about some criticisms and then some final thoughts on my part. So basically, the universe was created, and a divine being, because obviously the Bible, there's a lot of different interpretations of the Bible, so a lot of people even question as to whether or not the God that is talked about in the Bible is the one that created Earth. But we're going to say divine being. So a divine being within the past 6 to 10,000 years. The reason they say 6 to 10,000 years is because they like to kind of use the flood of Noah and Noah's Ark that they approximate happened within this time frame. They like to use that sort of as an anchor for their ideology. So 6 to 10,000 years matches that anchor, if you will. So basically, the presence of any objective, verifiable evidence that the universe is older than the 6 to 10,000 years was again due to the creator introducing false evidence that makes the universe appear older than it is. Basically, this is the Christian's version of the Uno reverse card, like, oh, you think that evidence is real? No, you, is basically what it is. And don't get me wrong, like, I get where this is coming from, and I'm not going to give my opinion quite yet, but I'll definitely say that this definitely feels like a child who has given up in an argument, and basically they've gotten to the point in the argument where they know they've lost, so they just throw out this absolutely outlandish bullshit idea to kind of make them sound not entirely, irrational, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. So now we're going to talk about some popular criticisms of this theory, because the great thing about this is that there's so much information about this that I was like, oh my god, this is really interesting, but also like, wow. So there were 3 criticisms of this theory, but I chose 2 that made the most sense in my opinion. So if you want to find the other ones, it's a simple Google search away. But I'm going to talk about the two criticisms of this theory, the two that make the most sense to me, and in my opinion, the two that are going to hopefully show to you that this is most likely not the case. So basically, the major criticisms of the Omphalos theory, or the Omphalos whatever, basically, they kind of surround a similar central point that you can't really prove this theory. But one of them is called the beginning of false creation and last Thursdayism. So basically, God introduced like all of this evidence of false creation, right? Basically saying that, oh, we have all the scientific, verifiable, objective evidence that the earth is billions of years old. And basically they're saying, no, 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 no. He put that there on purpose. He put that there for a reason. And so when we say that, when we say he put it there for a reason, he put it there for the express purpose of deceiving us or to putting us on a false trail, basically, I could easily say to you that, well, then the earth was made last Thursday. Because if he's willing to go to the extent to deceive us to that extent, then why wouldn't he just do it to where earth was created yesterday or 5 minutes ago, and everything up to now has just been created as a way to throw us off. So that's basically one of them. Beginning of false creation last Thursdayism basically just says that, well, if we're going to listen to your theory, earth might as well have been made last Thursday. The other one is the deceptive creator. So this one's a lot more complex than that one. So I kind of did like a TLDR for you guys. So if there are two accounts of creation, the written and then the account in nature, so the physical proof in nature of the account of creation, and then of course we have the biblical account in writing and scripture and various forms, because obviously there's not just the Bible, but basically if there are two accounts, the one in Bible and one that's written, I should say, and the one that we see in nature with the evidence, how do we know which one is true? So basically it's like the reverse card to the reverse card, right? If the person says, okay, so God created all of this in an attempt to throw us off the trail, to deceive us, right? So how do we know that the billion years of evidence is not true and that the scripture is false? So that's kind of like the toss-up. It's like, yeah, sure, the evidence in nature could be false, or the writing could be false. So the deceptive creator basically just says that if the evidence has been planted with the intention of deceiving someone, then it is just as easy and just as likely that somebody created the Bible in an attempt to deceive people as well. So take that for what you will. Those are the major two criticisms that I found for this theory. Honestly, I like the second one a lot because it has a lot of complexity to it, and it's also very simple, right? There's a lot more that goes into it than that, but when you kind of boil it down to its very bare bones, it's really just like it's a no you card, you know what I mean? And I mean, it's silly, but that's all it takes to kind of disassemble this argument of God planted this evidence in nature. So that being said, I've talked a lot about the theory, I've talked about the criticism, so now we are going to roll into final thoughts and finish off this video. So my final thoughts for this video, let me start with this. I'm not a very religious person. I do believe that there is a higher power. I just don't know quite what I believe. Growing up, I was very Christian in nature, so I have a lot of background going to church, going to youth group, doing all that, and that's all fine and dandy. I've got no problem with people who do that. You know, I know some people out there don't like religion, and to an extent, I don't like religion either. I feel like we all have a little bit of trauma from growing up in churches, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but I don't take that out on other people. So when I say what I'm about to say, I'm not saying it with a mean heart, but this theory's bullshit. Out of all the theories that I've ever talked about, I could find some truth or some like rationale in them, but this theory, in my opinion, just shows the absolute lengths that some people will go to try and justify their opinion. And in this case, they're going so far as to say that I'm not wrong. The proof and evidence that you have is wrong. God put that proof and evidence there to deceive you. And honestly, there was another, I don't know if this was an actual criticism, but there's obviously the age-old thought process of, if God is all-knowing, God is all-powerful, and God is omnipotent, this, that, and the other, like, can he do X, Y, or Z? And this kind of also could fall into that. I feel like you could easily say, well, if God is all-powerful and all-good and all-knowing, then why would he need to deceive his creation? So I think that's also a strong argument for this, is that there's really no reason for him to be as deceptive as this theory poses him to be. So I feel like that's definitely something to take into consideration as well, is that if we're willing to allow our God to be deceptive, then what's the purpose? You know what I mean? So don't like this theory. I like the theory. I like the concept of the theory. I just don't like the backup to this theory. I feel like there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts to this theory, and the biggest one being that there's no way to disprove this theory. Truthfully, that's the worst part about it, is that technically this is one of those that's it's unfalsifiable. I think it's called unfalsifiable arguments, that there's no way for me to disprove this theory. So the person projecting the theory would need to provide proof of it. So yeah, and I mean, that's really all there is to it. So, but I'm not going to continue to ramble on too much, because this theory was interesting to really like research, and like I like doing that part of it. But the theory itself, not a fan of it, because there's so many holes that you could poke in it so easily. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I've reviewed some real bottom of the barrel theories in my time, and I think this is probably the one that, in my opinion, is the bottomest of the barrels. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and close it off there. If you guys like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Give us a follow on social media. I'm looking to create a Discord pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. I've also thought about making an Instagram of some kind, but I'm not super into like pictures and stuff like that, so I'm not really sure how I would do with an Instagram. But yeah, so if you guys would go and like and subscribe, follow us on social media, keep an eye out on social media, because that's where I'll probably tell you guys about the Discord as soon as it comes up. If you haven't already, check out our Wednesday video of Control Over C. We had a lot of fun, me and Salsa, kind of talking about a couple different things, telling some stories. And he actually told a really funny story about his cat that he had to live with in a hotel for a period of time when he moved to the South. So anyhow, check it out if you haven't already. But I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Again, leave your comments down below about questions you want to ask for the 200 subscribers video, because at this point, I wanted to make the 100 subscribers, but we're almost at 200, so there's no point for me to do the 100, so I'm just going to do a bigger, better 200 subscriber video to kind of make up for my, not necessarily my laziness, but my procrastination, if you will. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Go ahead and like and subscribe, favorite, follow us on social media, and thank you so much for watching. So stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, stay awesome, and we will check you in the next one. See ya.